Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was loving you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feelings changed. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you plenty of friends.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn and I'm with my co-host, Christopher Kidd. Make sure you follow us both up on the tweet machine. You guys know where to follow me. I'm verified, all that good stuff. Chris, talk to him.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. You know where to follow me at? No, you don't. It's CKIDD206. You can follow me on Twitter at CKID206.
For the YouTube watchers of the podcast, this is not beer this time. This is tea.
It is 7:36.
Chris got here before the lights came on. That is... Yeah, that's pretty early. But we're recording real early this morning after the late night game Thursday. It'll be out Friday morning. But Seahawks lost. It's very bad. We don't need to waste any time. Chris, let's talk about it. The Seahawks, we got another. This is how you know it's a bad loss.
Three straight weeks.
It's no. Three out of the last 4 weeks we get a shit quote. It was what was the first one? What was the Titans game? It was Jamal said, shit happens, man. But I was pressing him. I was like, dude, how do you just forget, how everyone can do their job? How do you forget? Like, shit happens. He wasn't talking about himself necessarily.
As a team, as
a
unit.
And then what was it after the Vikings? It
DJ
was,
Reed?
He said, we got to get this shit fixed. I think
together.
Yeah, okay.
Gotta get our shit together.
Okay, that's what it was. And then they beat the Niners and was like, shit's great. No one said that, but there's a lot of cussing to open this show, but that's okay. Because it adds emphasis to the storyline. And then after they lose
Thursday
to the
night.
Rams on Thursday Night Football, 26-17, which is very bad. I mean, talk about Geno. That was a valiant effort, but a loss is a loss.
Yeah.
Right? They don't put but Geno played when they're deciding who makes the wild card, right? They just
asked the Seahawks that last season in the wild card game, if that matters.
That's right. See, that's the other thing. This team specifically lost its quarterback.
Yeah.
Last time these two teams played, and the Rams won by 10. So in Seattle. So I can't really add much of a caveat there, especially because Geno played well. This time, it was Quandre Diggs. I think I asked him a question. Can't remember what the question was because early in the morning. But he said, we got shit we need to fix. And everybody knows that. The first part of his quote, 100% agree with.
Yeah.
The back part, I don't know if everybody knows that. Because if they knew that, now for real, man, this defense is not playing. This defense is not playing well. We'll get to the offense in a second here with Russ's finger. We haven't heard from Pete Carroll yet after he's got a chance to get some extra, after Russ has had a chance to get some MRIs, x-rays and stuff. I've become a mallet finger expert, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I want to focus again on the defense, man, because there's a lot of resources that have been poured there. I mean, it's not just the Jamal thing. I've become like the local Jamal apologist, but that's fine. That's a role I'll accept. Although today that's not the greatest day to be in that clubhouse. But there's, and I mentioned this in my story after the game too. Like LJ Collier, first round pick. Jordan Brooks, first round pick. Darrell Taylor is he was the 48th pick.
Second, so
no, he was 48th pick, I think, in the second round.
Yep. So
that's a high draft pick, right? Top 50 pick on defense. Jamal Adams, expensive, but a couple first round picks and a third. Bobby Wagner was the highest paid linebacker in the league. I think he's like third highest now, and rightfully so. He was at the top. So those are resources poured into positions that matter, and you just extended Poona Ford too. Although the deal wasn't super expensive, that's another contract extension dedicated to that position. Even your cornerbacks. Got guys like Sidney that you traded for, or even Marquise Blair, who is another top 50 pick. I want to say he was pick 47. So in the second round of 2019, that's a lot of resources. They're bad. They are bad. This is a bad defense, right? Like today is what?
October 8th.
2021. They are a bad defense. I'm not wearing a watch. I don't know why I did that. But I looked down at my wrist for everyone listening on audio when I tried to figure out the date, as if my watch would tell me what day it is. It wouldn't. I don't have an Apple Watch. But my point is, they are a bad defense. Can they become a good defense by the time we record on January 8th, which is when I think they play the Cardinals? Yes.
Everything
Right
yeah.
now,
No.
they are bad. This is a bad defense. And I'm stating the obvious, but like it's to the point where it's so bad, I think you can't just it's irresponsible, I think, Chris, to put the same how many guys are they rotating essentially? Like 8 up front and about 9 on the back end, 7 who start, and then you include like Ugo. You can't run those same 17, 18 guys out there and just say, hey guys, we just need to do our jobs. If it was that simple, it would be working, right? You got to do something. I think you got to bench somebody, trade for somebody, maybe check on, see if a voice is not hitting. Maybe a position coach is getting tuned out. Maybe a position coach isn't doing his job. Maybe a coordinator or even the head coach is not doing his part. Maybe one of the defensive leaders in a given position group, the messages aren't getting relayed there. The calls aren't being communicated effectively. Something. I'm putting all that on the table right now. I am. Because you don't get this bad for this long. All these coverage busts. At least last year, remember the run defense was solid. Nobody was running on them last year.
They was just throwing.
That Wayne Gallman dude hit him for a bunch in like week 12 last
Against
year.
the Washington football team.
No, he's the he's so random. He was the Giants.
That's right, Giants. Okay,
because they didn't have Saquon. So
that's
how random that dude is. Chris, you know what team that guy was
Forgot.
on. I don't even know what team he's on now. For what it's worth, but that was an outlier. It proved to be. The run defense was solid. Now the run defense is below average, maybe closer to average. The pass defense is atrocious. Again, we're right back from last year. They don't have the excuse of no preseason,
no pass rush, no help,
no chemistry. No. You guys know each other. Y'all are either talking to each other, they ain't trusting each other, or ain't good enough. It's one of those three. We don't get paid enough to figure that out, but we can diagnose the issue. We're the doctors today. Diagnosis is something got to change or somebody got to change, Chris, because there's no excuse to be this bad with how many resources, both draft wise and salary cap wise, they have dedicated to being good on that side of the ball with a defensive minded head coach.
It's been a whirlwind, and it started with not bringing back Shaquille Griffin, not going out and getting a cornerstone to set it. With Shaquille, you'd be comfortable. Okay, he's not great, but he has potential, and we've seen what he can do when he's hitting on all cylinders.
At least he knows what's going on. There's a lot of
busts.
There's a lot of busts.
You said bust. Let's talk about that. I don't know how many times Cooper Kupp would run a drag, run a nice little post over the middle, and then 10 yards behind it, Robert Woods is wide open.
I mean, wide.
And great call for the Rams. They drew it up. That's what they wanted. But that linebacker, that safety spot, you got to hold it. You got to make the quarterback think for a split second, and hopefully that's enough time for your pass rush to get there. I'm going to be interested to see the all-22 to see what is going on with the pass rush, A, and then B, coverage. It's clear that the linebackers and safeties aren't holding the Cooper Kupp route, because if they were, Robert Woods might not get open.
Robert Woods averaged 4.2 yards of separation.
They got
in this game.
They got to hold those when you're going through zones. You got to be able to hold guys, make the quarterback hesitate. Matthew Stafford had a bunch of bad throws.
Oh yeah, he was honestly not even that good. He threw for 360,
which is crazy.
What?
But in the second half, he really started connecting on some of those throws, and even some of them. There was a throw in the fourth quarter to Cooper Kupp where Cooper slides and catches it. If Stafford's able to just lead Cooper, that's a touchdown. And that's another coverage bust. Somehow Cooper Kupp finds himself wide open across the middle.
I think that one
it was on the left hand side.
I know, I think that's on Jordan. I think Bill Barnwell has the little dots.
Yeah, and they show it.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
The thing is, that's communication. That's not knowing where you're supposed to be. It's all the intangibles coming in and showing on the football field, and you can't have that. I personally would have loved to see more of Ryan Neal, because we saw what Ryan Neal was able to do against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. Now, Mike had a clip of George Kittle against Ryan Neal, and you saw Ryan Neal was able to be there, make a play on the ball. It was a badly thrown ball, but Mike told me, hey, Chris, 2 things can be right. What did you say? 2 things?
2 things could be true at once. Ryan made a good play on the ball,
That's a bad
and
throw.
it was a bad throw. Also, people tweeted me that after Jalen Ramsey, I said Jalen Ramsey's like that because he picked off Russ.
Yeah.
It was like, Russ threw it to the wrong shoulder.
I wonder why.
Hey, there's a safety on the other shoulder. So if Russ leads Tyler over there, the other safety
might kill Lockett or pick him off, either or.
Yeah, but the other thing is, how many throws do you guys think they get picked off are good throws?
Yeah.
Most interceptions are bad throws.
Yeah.
And bad decisions. That's why interceptions are so random and quarterback reliant. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Go ahead. I just think that's really frustrating. It's just like, guys, go look at every interception this year. We should put a cut up. About 80% of them here be like, wow, that was a bad throw.
Terrible throw.
Every pick six is a bad throw.
9 out of 10.
No, not 10. Every pick six is a bad throw. Every pick six. You know how bad it gotta be for us to call a play offense and then you take it the other way?
Yeah.
I mean, every pick six is a bad throw. That's just what it is. It's not just the defender made an excellent play. That happens sometimes. Xavier Howard had a couple of those last year. But for the most part, most interceptions are the result of bad throws. That's why I
said 9 out of 10.
If it was a good throw, the receiver would catch it. Seriously, that's it. I feel like people forget that.
When you take that into account, the Seahawks had opportunities to make certain plays, but they never got going. In the first half, the defense, they played okay. Again,
they played great, I thought. In the first half?
I'm just leaning towards Stafford has to make those throws. And that's back to your point. Yeah, those 2 things can be accurate and they can still get it done. True.
Yeah, quarterbacks miss throws over the course of a year. Teams have benefited from Russ.
In the second half, I wish the Seahawks had that same intensity because DJ Reed, missed throws or not, he was there. He was making plays. He had a pass breakup on Deshaun Jackson. He had another opportunity, but the ball was overthrown on Van Jefferson. We saw a lot of DJ Reed being active, what we saw from last season. But overall,
DJ Reed was probably their highest graded cover guy. Oh no, it's probably Quandre because of the pick. But I thought DJ played well, which tells us that the issues are probably whispers somewhere else, not number 2 and not number 6. That's probably somebody else there.
In those situations, you got to try something new, and that's why I'm all on board. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Try something new in regards to the cornerback position with Trey Flowers.
That's correct. Yep.
We said, try something new. What do you know? The following week, Sidney Jones is out there. Okay, cool.
I don't think that went particularly better, but it was something different.
It's something different.
So now you can see if the Sidney thing works, if you got to do something else different.
So now I'm on the fence of saying, hey, we've seen Ryan Neal. He gets in there. He makes tackles. He's not 6'3", 220, but he's going to get in there and make plays. I think if the Seahawks give an opportunity, and it's essentially you're saying, Chris, you want to play weak side linebacker? At this point, what else do you want to do? You're not going to put Cody Barton out there. There's not too many guys you're going to want to put in that situation.
So to be clear, you're suggesting
you got to put Ryan Neal
out there instead of Jordan Brooks.
I would say try it more often.
I don't know if I think it's an either or proposition at this point. Either you play,
and it's tough because I'm over here fighting like, damn, he's not built. He is a nickel corner.
Ryan?
Yes, he played safety, but the Seahawks transitioned him.
No, he played corner.
He played corner. I thought he played
corner
safety
with the Falcons.
Okay,
so he played safety in college.
Yep.
And he actually
similar to Trey Flowers, to be honest.
He got benched for in college. He got benched for Jordan Chin. Actually, the Panthers safety, second round pick. He got benched for him in college.
Okay. Little backstory here.
Yeah, I did a feature on Ryan last year. And I talked to his DB coach. That's how I know all this. But he got benched for Jordan Chin, and then ended up getting his job back somehow. And then was really good. Still didn't get drafted. Played corner with the Falcons, I think is where they got him from. Never played in a game though. And then they brought him here thinking he was going to be a corner. Corner.
And then he ended up being.
And then they ended up moving him
because Jamal got hurt.
Yeah, I think it was before Jamal got hurt that they made the move.
Who went out though? Someone had to get banged up for him to get that opportunity, right?
It was Jamal, but Jamal had gotten hurt, and in the Dallas game, they were like, Ryan, you're up. They didn't decide that right there.
Yeah.
No, he had already been practicing his safety and all that. So he
has the experience. I will say that. But there's got to be, who else would you want at weak side linebacker that can come in and at least, if they're going to play a lot of dime in that situation where you're going to have wide receivers that can get across the field.
Ryan's listed 6'3", 200, by the way.
Okay. Not bad. Not bad. I just don't know if his body can take a bunch of linemen hitting him, and he's hitting linemen and running backs, blowing up plays. That's just maybe a different skill set you're asking of Ryan. But you look at the roster, who else is going to be able to cover and make plays like that? And that's the tough part. They were hoping Jordan Brooks can do that, but clearly it's not working the way they saw it right now, 5 weeks into the season.
No, I think that was. I think isolating who's been issues is really hard because you got to know the call. They play a lot of zone. I think that's where people get mixed up. Like when you're talking about someone's coverage, whether Jordan Brooks can cover or you're talking about Bobby Wagner or Ugo or whatever, everything is not man to man. This team actually plays very little man to man, although that's the name of the podcast. They don't play a lot of man. They play a lot of zone. And zone's about who's in your zone and what you have to read on any given play, right? So it's not always just because the guy is closest to the ball in the TV screen, it was his fault, right? That's like George Kittle's flea flicker last week is a really good example. If you look at it, it's a toss. They run a toss to Trey Sermon or whatever. Quandre, thinking it's a toss, comes all the way down to the alley and is ready to blow that play up. And that's what he's supposed to do. He read run. They read the run keys. Boom. Throws it right back to Jimmy G. And Kittle's wide open. Now, it looks like Jamal got beat. They're basically in like cover 3. Jamal's playing the back, like he's playing the flat on the backside. And then he's got like backside run support. He just happens to run to Kittle. But it looks like, oh man, that's Jamal's fault. That's why I tweeted Jamal can cover in that moment because he can. He covered a lot of ground, and then stopped the pass. But I bring that up to say it's hard to assign blame at any particular time. I spend a lot of time watching film and talking to people before I do those things. I don't think Jordan Brooks is playing well. I just don't. And I think the staff is kind of back and supporting that. Not like texting me, Mike, he stinks. But how many games has Jordan played without coming off the field this year?
Maybe week 1, and that's a maybe.
No, they were shuffling Cody.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're shuffling
they were
Cody
shuffling
and
Bobley,
Indy.
so that's okay.
Yeah, they're shuffling Cody.
Yeah.
They played Cody week 2 against the Titans. Part of that was Jordan had that bad penalty, and Pete was like,
and he got cramps.
Get off the field. No, cramps was Vikings.
Okay.
Titans, remember,
I'm ahead of myself.
He had that penalty, and they put Cody in.
They benched him.
Yeah, and then they put Jordan back in. I think they were shuffling before the Vikings game. I can't remember. But then, he had the cramps, and then they were shuffling before the cramps, I believe. And then even if they weren't, that would be the one game. And then San Francisco gets taken off for Ryan. And in this game, taken off for Ryan. You don't take guys off the field if you think they're legit like that.
Well, especially you
just
picked
don't.
them where you did.
You just don't. Like they're backing up what I'm seeing. And and the other people who know a little bit more film than me are supporting that claim. So that's one. So I get you're not the only person feeling like play Ryan more. I just do.
Well, I don't even know how. That's my other problem.
That would be how. It would be you take your first round pick off the field.
Damn, Mike makes it so simple.
Essentially, I mean, they decided that with LJ
right.
and Rashad Penny. They decided that guys who were less expensive than them were better. In LJ's case, it's really Puna and Rasheem Green, who are, I guess, less expensive. So yeah, at least Puna was at the time. So you decide, all right, you're not as good as so and so. Rashad, you're not as good as the 7th round pick we got named Chris. So you have to hit the bench. You can decide that. I don't know how much I'm advocating for that, just because I don't know how sustainable dime as a base is as a defense when you're trying to stop the run as well. That's kind of tough.
It's not going to help.
Though I will say this: I won't spend too much time on Ryan, but because I know people do want to know about that, so which is why I'm willing to talk about it. So they've done that before. If you go look at, and I've known this, it's in my head. It really clicked this morning. Week 2 of the 2018 season, if you guys remember, Bobby got hurt. I think it was like a leg injury, calf or something. KJ Wright he had the Regenikine knee procedure. That's why Shaquem Griffin had been starting, or at least started week 1 against the Broncos. Their starting linebacker in that game was Michael Kendricks. I don't even know if they played a weak side linebacker because they didn't play Shaquem Griffin. I think they essentially started Bradley McDougald at weak side linebacker in that game. Like that's basically how they were using Bradley. I'm not sure if the snap counts will match that entirely, but look at how often Bradley was in the box, in that game making plays. He had the tip on Mitch Trubisky that Shaq picked off and dove for. Like they was like, Bradley, we just need you to. We don't have KJ. We can't play Shaquem. Bobby's out. Can you play linebacker? And Bradley was like, yeah. He didn't have to do it again, I don't think, because in week 3 they played Zeke. And I think they just put Kendricks next to Bobby. And then eventually got KJ back. But my point is, they've done it. And I was against a Mitch Trubisky-led Bears team. I think a Bears team that won 12 games. But I don't know how sustainable that is going forward. Though, like we said earlier, everything should be on the table. I think you have to consider whether guys are listening to the staff because the communication is just not there. You see guys pointing and yelling at each other after plays. Either it's not being taught correctly, what's being taught stinks, it's not being received by the players, and that can go either way. That can be a player thing or a coach thing. That maybe be specific, I'm not sure. The in-game communication is not going well, getting a lot of busts on stuff that, I mean, me and Chris, we watch a lot of football, like after the fact too. We can tip our hat to the other guy if he has a good play, makes a good catch, has a good design. That's not even really what's happening.
It's simple stuff.
Yeah, the Vikings ran a couple good cover 3 beaters that I thought were really good, and the Rams ran like 2 last night. Just watching in real time, I was like, that put so and so in a compromising spot. A lot of time, Jordan, that put him or Bobby in really compromising spots. That's what good coordinators do. Most of it though is just like, my man, you're supposed to cover that. You're supposed to cover that. Do you guys not know? Do you guys not know that? So it's either coach says to player X, player's hearing Y, or coach says to player X, he hears X and can't do X, right? Or coach says to player hears womp, Charlie Brown adult type of thing. It's something like that. And in that case, I very rarely advocate for like, oh, you should bench this guy or fire this guy. You have to do something different. You cannot put the same dudes out there and ask them to do the same things and just hope that it works. That you can't do that at this point. You gotta trade somebody, or get rid of a voice in there or bring in a new voice. Something has to change. That it would be organizational malpractice, I think, to say we got the. Now I know Quandre said this last night because you have to. Unless you're Doc Rivers. He said, he said, we got the guys in here. We have the guys to get it done. You have to say that. That's the perfect right answer. I 100% believe he believes that, and that is fine. I disagree. I don't think the bodies are there. I really just do not. And when I say bodies, I mean staff and I mean players, because one dude is not the reason why they're getting cooked. One dude is not. That's just not it. I know we spent a lot of time on the defense. We'll talk offense when we talk Russ and his finger and stuff, but you can't run the same dudes out there. And this includes pass rush too. We ain't talked a lot about them. I mean, Darryl Taylor's the only one capable of a sack, apparently. No one else. Just not getting home. Carlos Dunlap, he had a good game last week. He was leading them in pressures entering this game. Actually, I don't know who's leading them in pressures now. It's probably Darryl, but not good enough. No, that's not good enough either. The coverage isn't getting there, or coverage.
The pass rush is not getting there, and the coverage is being left to dry. And when you're left to dry, everyone completes passes on you.
Yeah,
you need to get to the quarterback to allow your corners to have some room to breathe. That's what it comes down to. It's a yin and yang. You got good pressure, corners are able to like, okay, cool, we can make plays. You don't have pressure, your quarterbacks are out there for 3 to 4 seconds trying to guard 2 posts over the middle, trying to guard. Double moves. It makes it that much more of a challenge. That's why pass blocking is so important.
And man, they squandered a good day by the Seahawks O-line too. So they had 11 pressures, which LJ Collier had 1. Wow, they only had 3 quarterback hits. Like it was not
1 sack. Not a brilliant day.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, the pressure is just as important. Like the QB hits matter too. I think LJ's QB hit is the 68-yarder.
Yeah, to Deshaun.
To Deshaun, yeah, that's his one. And then I think Darryl had another aside from the sack, and then that was it on at least 37 dropbacks. Not good enough. On defense, we'll get to the offense here, but you can't do it. I don't know whether it's Sydney, whether it's how they're using Jamal in coverage. In certain situations, I do think Jamal can cover. We'll talk about that. Maybe it is more of Ryan. Maybe it's more of Blitz and Bobby in some of those more obvious passing situations. I think Bobby's a really good blitzer. He actually he runs and hits really well, which makes sense. He's a linebacker. And then leaving some of your other guys back there to cover on blitzes to help your pass rush out. My other suggestion, last thing on the defense, you know what I said to Doug Farrar, because he was in the press box. Saw Doug yesterday. You know what I said to him? I was like, you know what they could do? Is they could be like the Ravens. Because people don't watch the Ravens. Actually, you guys saw the Monday night game against the Raiders. Remember, Eli knew they were running cover 0 all the time.
Blitzing.
The Ravens have decided our guys can cover for a little bit. So let's just blitz. They only got to cover for half a second, essentially. And if the ball's in the air, it's either going to be a bad throw or something because the guy's going to throw off his back foot or something.
Only problem is, I guess it would work in these next few games. You look at who they're playing and receiver-wise. Okay, I would bank on I like DJ Reed against Juju Smith. I like Sidney Jones against their speedster for the what's his name?
Deontay Johnson.
I like
Dante, whatever it is. We all know who we're talking about.
I think that's a good scheme depending on who you play. If you do that against the Rams, I think Stafford's just going to be like, "Oh, Cooper Kupp, run these crazy routes and get open," and they will do that.
See, like he can't run that China route stuff.
No, not China, but he can run.
Well, yeah, he's a good route runner. So yeah, no, I mean it's not foolproof. The Ravens don't win every game.
Hell no,
but
no.
I do think that
okay. I like that.
The philosophy there that they run is because I know we said it's bad. Maybe I'll offer a solution before we close this defensive part. The I don't know. I forget their defensive coordinator's name. Martindale, Wayne, something. Anyway, the philosophy loosely is let's create havoc with blitzes and disguises that like quarterbacks operate well when they're comfortable. If we create pressure, he'll mess up. That's if we keep doing it and mess up when you do stuff like that as strip sacks and pick sixes and interceptions and throwaways and errant throws. A lot happens when a quarterback is faced with chaos. That's why Russ hired the trainer dude that trained Kobe and MJ, Tim Grover, to specifically work with him in chaotic situations so that when he gets in those in real life, he's in his job, at least he does well. That's something that they could apply. I think it's not exactly the same, and again, it's not foolproof. But the way their defense works now is like it's a little bit passive. It's try to stop the run, funnel everything inside, stay on top, kind of bend, don't breaky. The Ravens are like, we're just gonna try to break you.
Well, they gotta try something, Mike.
Yeah,
at this point, I like that idea. It's not bad, but
it's not. Yeah, it's not. Again, it's not foolproof. But I know people want to hear something. Mike, what can we do? I've said it's something. You got to get rid of a coach, perhaps. I need to do more reporting before I suggest who. That's just my responsibility. But maybe you got to get rid of a voice in there. Maybe you got to get rid of a player or two. Maybe you got to bring in a player or two. Not maybe. They do personnel. You got. I think you do got to bring in.
Stephon Gilmore would have been nice.
They should have. I don't. From what I hear, it was they weren't. They tried, but
maybe Richard Sherman. Too late now. But
that's they didn't try. That one I know they didn't try. They got to do something there, personnel. But I think if you're going to work with the guys you do have, because that is the most likely scenario, I do think that schematic shift, it's hard because that's not something you teach, and it's hard to just adjust on the fly like that. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to lose.
Well, they did lose.
If you keep doing what you're doing with the guys you got, you're going to keep losing. So I think that's something they could try, and perhaps it would better utilize Jamal because he just needs to blitz more. I'm not even saying that as an indictment of the coverage stuff. He just needs to blitz. He's not blitzing at all. He probably has like 15 blitzes on the year.
His strength, well, real quickly, his strength is blitzing. I don't want to say lose faith in him and covering, but if you're going to put him in coverage, just have help. You can put a corner underneath in a little scheme. You can do things to help Jamal because on that corner route by Tyler Higbee on the broadcast,
he just got to cover that though.
He do, but
he got to cover that.
At the same time, you got beat.
Yeah, but that's just you can't get no help. It's you against a mid-tier tight end. Higbee's good, but he's not like Darren Waller, Kelsey, Gronk.
I think the Rams are saying I like our tight end way more than you think Jamal can cover our guy, and it worked out. And there's nothing else. The Seahawks can't hide him. It's not like we're gonna pull Jamal off.
Put him closer. Is Jamal questions in the question section?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, let's just go to questions then, and that way I'll get to what people want to know. I'm pretty sure we'll talk Russ, we'll talk Jamal as well. What do we got here on questions?
Got quite a few. Let's kick things off with longtime subscriber, first time with the questions. Appreciate that. What has happened to our home field advantage? Keep killing it. This is from Nate, by the way, Nate Johnson.
You know what? I got a hot take here. I'm not sure the home field advantage was really like the advantage people think it was. I think the Seahawks were just good.
Sound the alarm?
They were better than the other teams. They would have won if these games were played in Hawaii. Now, I mean, some of these like down to the wire finishes, perhaps, but I mean that's still like some variance. I mean, like, should they have beat the Lions when KJ batted the ball out of the back of the end zone? You know, like the tip by Sherman's a great play, but that's like thin. You know, the NFC title game against the Packers is probably one of the luckiest games in franchise. It's definitely the luckiest game in franchise history. It probably might be the most improbable comeback in NFL history. There's some other ones that have been down to the wire that have just worked in their favor that I think A, could have worked out somewhere else, and B, like, they got on the good side of some like turnover variance or something. But yeah, I don't think the advantage is what people actually thought it was, like the 12s were some like magical, we get an extra 5 points from Vegas instead of the 3 that everyone usually gets. I just think they were better. They're not better now. They were better than the other teams back then. That includes, Green Bay when they beat the Patriots here. I think that like it matters. The false start stuff matters, and the communication matters, and all that. But for the most part, I think at best, if the standard is home team gets 3 points in terms of like betting favorites, the Seahawks get 3.5. It wasn't the environment was real. I'm not trying to downplay the environment. I'm talking about how it affected the on-field product, though. You have to be better than the other team to beat them, or at least be better that day, and they're just not at that. I've seen a lot of losses at home, and yeah, I thought this in actually 2018. I just haven't had the time to bring it up. But now that Nate asked this question, yeah, I think it was always overstated, and it was always about Seahawks being better than the other teams, and that is no longer the case.
Our next one comes from our homie across the way in Senegal, Edmondson. He wants to know, do you guys think that the players don't trust Pete and the Ken Norton Jr. scheme? The frustration on the field just keeps mounting from game to game.
I mean, like I said earlier, I do think that's on the table. I don't want to speculate that right away. I'm sorry, man. I know you're asking all the way from Senegal, but I think I have to do more reporting. If this was a podcast,
excuse me, Portugal. Both got it wrong.
Shoot, Portugal.
Yep.
I only got it wrong because you said Senegal.
You
just blame me like that.
Easy to do so.
Yeah, man. Anyway,
Portugal.
I'm sorry, man. But I just can't speculate that confidently right now. And if this was a podcast and we were just kind of bloggers from afar, then maybe. But I have the ability to dig a little deeper, so I have to do that before I can confidently say that is what's happening. Could it be, though? 100%. I actually thought about that before I went to sleep last night. I was like, there's a world where these guys are just tuning the coaches out, or just not listening, or don't trust it. I mean, Trey Flowers basically told us after the Vikings game, he either, the result of his conversation with us was he either didn't trust the scheme or didn't know it. One of the two. I doubt he doesn't know it. So, that's just my guess. But it's one of those two things. Both of those are bad, which is why he stopped playing. But I don't rule it out. I do think there's a world where, yeah, these guys are just not listening, or don't have faith in what the scheme is. I do think the scheme itself is fine. They're just running cover 3. You can run cover 3 and win games. At the very least, you can run cover 3 and not give up 500 yards a game. It doesn't even have to be that. So I do think that is a possibility. I know that's not the greatest answer, the most definitive thing, but that's what I got right now. And honestly, if you'd asked me that 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said no. But now I do think it's on the table. You don't be this bad in this particular way that they're bad for this long without that being a consideration, that maybe the voices that they have in there just aren't hitting. I don't know which voices may not be hitting, but there's got to be some voices not hitting. Otherwise, they wouldn't have all these communication breakdowns and coverage busts.
Our next one's from Sam. Did Geno just take advantage of what the Rams defense was giving by making quicker throws with more decisive reads? And is that what Shane Waldron wants Russ to do?
I do think Geno's passing. Shout out to Geno Smith. That was unbelievable performance by Geno Smith, man. The interception wasn't even his fault. Tyler fell. I don't think it was a PI. I think Tyler just fell. Tyler thinks it was PI, but I don't think so. Watching the replay, Geno played out of his mind. That is coming off the bench cold like that. And remember when he played against the Jets last year, he did not look good. He did not look decisive, didn't look comfortable, and just wasn't ready. He was ready. He was ready. His passing chart is very interesting because he got damn near as many plays as Russ. And he had like 20, 23, maybe 20 total. And man, he was working a different part of the field that we don't see Russ hit. Russ is better than Geno Smith. Throw that out there. And if Russ is healthy, they should play Russ. If Russ is not healthy, they should play Russ. That's to be very fair and be very clear on that thought. But when the way he was working, like that Disley throw over the middle, those DK slants, even against Jalen Ramsey, against their too high looks, because the middle of the field is what's open when they play their split safety looks. Even when you have Jalen Ramsey playing in the slot like he was, and you look at Geno's passing chart and you see all these throws like over the middle of the field, and it's just like, where that been? And he had good protection. Russ had good protection too. I thought the 2 sacks Russ took were definitely
on Russ.
Yeah, I thought that was
holding on to the
obvious
damn
and
ball.
that first one he took, the 12-yard loss.
Trying to do too much.
Get rid of the ball.
That's what happens. We talked about it when he threw the touchdown to Freddie Swain. If he doesn't do that and takes the sack, that touchdown never happens. So at
least got to get rid of the ball. You can't take a sack. I'm cool with you throwing it away.
He was trying to. He wanted to make something. He wanted to make a play, which is
you got to get rid of the ball. This is job's to get rid of the ball. It is. So I don't think it was yes, actually, to answer the question, I do think he was taking what they were given, and in their looks they give essentially the middle of the field. They're like, if you hear film guys talk about whether the middle of the field is open or the middle of the field is closed, it's open in their looks, in that like the safeties are outside the hashes, either on the hashes. You got the middle to work with. And they were hitting it, or Geno was hitting it. That throw to Disley was great route by Will, great patience by Geno to let it come open. Geno's first throw was like a skinny post to DK against Jalen Ramsey over the middle. Yeah, that's ballsy. And then Jalen was beat, and that's why he had to
PI.
Had to get the PI call. So DK played better than Jalen yesterday too. What a waste by the Seahawks to waste that performance, because who knows if that happens again. Shout out to DK for that though. But yeah, to answer we don't have a name on this one, but
it was from Sam.
How you know that's Sam?
Because I remember.
Scrolled already. Sorry. Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, so yeah, Sam, I think so. I think he worked an area of the field that Shane would probably show Russ and be like, this is the stuff I want you to work. This is how Sean pulled this off with Jared Goff. You don't have to be a Hall of Famer to make plays in this particular scheme. Just hit the throws where the defense is inviting us to hit the throws. You look at Geno's passing chart and you see half his throws, his completions, in the middle of the field. And then you look at Russ's chart and then you see interception in the middle of the field. And then you see tons of completions outside the numbers. And it's just like, well,
not much.
Sorry for the dead air. I was shrugging. But no, let's just say that's significant.
Well,
next question.
Let's stick with Geno. Why did things look smoother with Geno? Screen game, check. Protection, check. Dink and dunk, move and change, check. It actually kind of worked.
I don't think
from V8 noises.
I don't think they were dinking necessarily and dunking, but they were, like I said, hitting the middle. I think that's part of. I just think that's more a comfortable place. I think for lesser quarterbacks is the middle of the field like that. Because the stronger arm dudes can hit those throws outside the numbers, and that's where you get one-on-one coverage, too, a lot of the time outside the numbers. But I do think that Geno executed the scheme in a way that, like I said, resembles like a Goff. Like, oh, my first read, it's DK, throw it, done. And even when he had other reads that he made, like I think the touchdown to DK might have been a second read, maybe. I mean, that was outside the numbers, but I just think that this is a quarterback friendly scheme, I think. And it really is quarterback friendly for a quarterback that isn't particularly good. And I'm comfortable saying that would be Geno, a guy who entered this game with more career interceptions and touchdowns. Actually, he probably still has more interceptions than touchdowns because he threw one apiece today, even though the pick wasn't his fault. My point is that if you're a quarterback who needs your hand held a little bit more, like Aaron Rodgers doesn't, Tom Brady doesn't, Patrick Mahomes doesn't, Lamar Jackson doesn't. But if you are a Jared Goff, you are a Kirk Cousins, you do need, hey man, I'm gonna make this real simple for you. Do this. Okay. It can work. This offense works if you run it that way. What does that mean going forward? I don't know. You should still play Russ. Like we don't know if he has the mallet finger thing where it's like the tip of it is like dislocated. We'll hear from Pete in like 2 hours, so we'll really know.
Need my watch?
No, it's cool. We'll hear from him about 2 hours. So we'll know a little bit more. From what I've I've become a mallet finger expert in the last 10 hours. If that's the thing I've been reading and watching, that's bad. He's got to miss some time because they would need to straighten his finger out, but he wouldn't be able to grip the ball. He would have to grip the ball like this, essentially.
Not practical.
And he can't like wear what's it called, a splint?
Nothing you can
You
do.
can't really wear those and try to grip a football, at least not on your throwing hand. So it's like he would, I'm throwing him gang sign. So I'm a little worried about Russ if it's the mallet finger thing. I don't know if that means surgery right away, how much time he would miss, but I'm really worried right now. Like this could change when I hear from Pete in a couple hours, but right now at
8:15
booty crack of dawn, it's not sounding great.
No worries. This one's from Cade Ashby. He wants to know, would it make sense for the Seahawks to try to use Jamal Adams as a slot defender? The way Jordan from the last pod, if you guys haven't, go check that out. I know it's a little late, it's a preview, but whatever. Like they're using Jalen Ramsey. Maybe it would help get impact player more involved.
I mean, they kind of are. I mean, look where Jamal lines up. He basically lines up as he's like a extra linebacker, but like so. What an extra linebacker has, and then when Ugo comes in, he has these very similar responsibilities. Is you have the flat, right? You're buzzing to the flat, the check down areas, and you get a little depth depending on if you have someone in your zone, and you have the hooks and the curls and this like right on the hash or the seams. You have those, which is what a slot guy could have too, because you're not running a bunch of man, so you just have landmarks that you have to hit. In zones you have to fill. Jamal actually fills those, so I mean he's doing a little bit of that. Here's my thing on, because what's the next question? Someone has a why can't Jamal Adams cover? I'll just throw that in there because I'm sure a lot of people are asking that, because I mean
I wasn't even gonna ask you that.
No, it's fine because I've become the guy. Here's what I will say on Jamal, and I think I've probably said this on the podcast before. Jamal can cover. He can. You guys think that covering is all right, you're man-to-man of Stephon Diggs in the slot, like whoever just asked about that, and all right, go get a pick. That's not how it works. It's a lot of zone coverage. It's a lot of reading keys. It's a lot of taking away throws, stuff like that. Jamal can do. Jamal gets his hands on passes. He's done that.
I like the way you did that.
Like he can cover. And also, we need to stop making this argument. This is perhaps more important. We need to stop making this argument so black and white. When you say someone can't cover, that is very definitive. There's no gray area. That is stupid. For example, do you guys think Shaquille Griffin can cover? Of course people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has Shaquille Griffin been torched before?
Oh, ask Adam
Has
Thielen.
Shaquille Griffin been part of a coverage bust before? Has Shaquille Griffin been beat for touchdowns before? Do you think Richard Sherman can cover?
Oh, I wish
Has
the Seahawks would have
Richard
grabbed him.
Sherman been beaten before? Bad?
Oh yeah, we've seen it.
By guys like Roddy White in his prime? Yes. Has he been part of coverage bus? Yes. Do you think he can cover? Yes. Do you think DJ Reed can cover?
Absolutely.
Have you seen DJ Reed get beat bad?
Yeah, I have actually last season. Yes.
So,
and this year,
it can't be black and white. You need to be more specific with your analysis, like I'm about to be, because I'm that guy. The further away Jamal gets from the line of scrimmage, I think that he becomes less effective. That I think we can all agree on, even though I think Jamal can cover. The further you put him away from the line, becomes less effective. The closer he gets to the line is the more he becomes a stud. Whether that's run defense, some of that flat coverage, the hooked stuff, curl stuff that I've mentioned, taking away over routes like he was doing against the Vikings, even like man-to-man and short yardage stuff that he's been, even the pass breakup he had against the Titans, for example, that got negated by a Cody Barton hold away from the play, blitzing, tackles for loss on run plays. That stuff, closer to the line, great. Even covering closer to the line, I think he's great. The further away he gets, less effective. Not totally ineffective, because look at that. I thought the George Kittle play on the flea flicker was good, and I thought the George Kittle hit last week against the what was that?
Beautiful,
right
as Pete Carroll would say. Just beautiful.
Textbook. It's a perfect coverage. He can do that stuff. Nobody asked me this question last week. Nobody did when he played great. After the Vikings game, when he played fine in coverage, like it wasn't his fault they were blowing stuff. Right. So I think we need to change the discussion. We've made this way too black and white, or made too either or. can a guy cover? He can't. What does that even mean? Of course he can, right? You guys think DJ Reed can, right? Beat too. Everybody gets beat, right? It's how many times do they not get beat versus how many times do they do. And I think that's how you have to factor it in. Jamal don't really get beat that often. You guys just really notice when it happens and care a lot, like you did yesterday, which is fine. You should notice when it happens. But I don't think he's the only person, if you notice, that when he gets beat, aside from Trey Flowers, it's like, this guy can't cover.
Man, there was a party on my timeline last night.
No one does that to Jordan Brooks.
It was Jamal
No
Adams.
one does that to Bobby. No one does that to Ugo. No one does that to Marquise Blair. No one does that to DJ Reed.
Because he got
No
paid.
one's doing that to Sidney Jones.
That's why.
No one's doing that to any of the corners that get. I mean, do people think Darius Slay can't cover? DK hit him for 177 last year.
Damn near 200.
Yeah.
Call that man an action figure.
Think Emmanuel Mosley can't cover? DK hit him for $160 last year. Right? Like, of course Emmanuel can cover. Of course these guys can cover. Stop making the discussion so black and white. Have some actual analysis. Like, I think that's where we need to go. And that's why I'm willing to say, like, a guy can. Because it's like, well, if he couldn't, it would be way more obvious than it is. Now, I do think the two plays today were very bad.
Thursday night.
Whatever. You know, the two plays Thursday were very bad. Like the Higbee touchdown, you got to make that play. The deep ball to Deshaun Jackson, I get how Jamal saw Deshaun running and was like, I got to stay on top of this ball.
Can't blame him.
The ball didn't come on top. It was an underthrown ball that
Shout out LJ.
That Deshaun readjusted to.
Yeah.
Like, okay, still you have to track the ball. If you track the ball, then it doesn't matter where it goes, you're there. That's just kind of the rules. I tell guys that when we play flag football on weekends. Look at the ball. If you go to it,
it'll come.
It don't matter where the man is. He's probably going to it too. You'll meet him there. Like, you track the ball. You have to track the ball. That's why when I wrote in my story last night, I said he misplayed the ball, because he did. He thought it was going one place, it didn't. Turned his head away from the ball. You need to track it. That was the thing. But then again, look where that was. I think further away from the line. And I think you will see a lot of strong safeties in a lot of schemes not doing that, by the way. That's just pretty standard that they're closer to the line. That's what the strong side guy usually does. You usually have your middle of the field safety Quandre to do stuff like that. I think that was a too high look. So you're expecting your other safety to be able to cover that, which he's capable of. That was just really bad. But I do think we have to change that discussion, because I'll say he can to my heart's content, same way I would DJ Reed or Bobby or some of the other guys. Do they get beat sometimes? Of course. Doesn't mean you can't is like totally incapable ever. Not just occasionally blah blah blah. So I think that's why I think that when Dick Fane kept tweeting me last night, I think Q Millen's totally wrong about all of this. Like, that stuff, we're making it way too definitive. And I'll say that. Shoot, I'm doing Puck show in like an hour, so I'll definitely say it on there too. Whew, that was a long Jamal answer.
It's all good.
I think he was public enemy number one.
Yeah, my timeline said it. It was crazy.
There's probably one. Okay, I got one more thing. Because there's probably some people probably went, well, Mike, we paid him all this money. Why would we do that? If the further away from the line of scrimmage he gets, he's less effective. That ain't my job.
That's scheme.
That ain't my job. That is not. But I do think his times where he is the deep guy is very rare. And it is actually in some pretty simple situations. Hell, the play we're talking about, Deshaun's double teamed.
Sydney, where are you at?
Yeah, Sydney got burnt. That was not good. He got burnt pretty bad. And that's the thing. They're supposed to be in a position, ideally, like Pete would probably say, it's probably going to say on the radio today, if Jamal does overrun it, Sydney should be there underneath it, in theory. But he wasn't. So that's a little bit of everybody it couldn't cover very well. Nobody tracked the ball but Deshaun, which was the worst case scenario for the Seahawks. I do think that is a fair read on it, but I do think that when people bring up the salary, it's like, well, he makes this, and I don't feel the impact of that number, which is not how I would necessarily look at it, because that disregards how markets work, right? Like, I try not to throw people's salaries out there unless it's because specific instances, mostly with quarterbacks, but it's just like, when you're next up to get paid, you're the next up, right? Like, Kirk Cousins wasn't the best quarterback when he got that deal, right? Russ wasn't the best quarterback in the league when he got his deal, right? That's just not how it works. Baker Mayfield's about to get paid. He's not the best quarterback, but he'll probably be one of the highest paid, if not the highest. Lamar Jackson, same thing. That's just kind of how it goes. I do think it's fair to ask this year why he's not doing more of the thing he is best at. he's doing a lot. People think Jamal's not doing anything. That's legitimately stupid. Like, you can watch the tape and see he's doing a lot of different things, playing a lot of different roles on any given snap, run or pass. If you want to know why he's not doing more of the thing he's best at, that's fair. That's where we can agree on that. He should be blitzing more.
I was talking to Hugh last night about that, and I was saying,
was you?
Yeah,
I need to have a talk with him.
I was saying, well, I hear where you're coming from, Hugh, in that regard of Jamal covering, but the Seahawks got to put him in position to where he is best. I get in certain situations, he should be able to go out there and defend a deep ball.
Or Higbee. That Higbee play is like a one you should 100% hit him to. I would expect Bradley McDougall to cover that.
But my argument was, okay, that's cool, but you also got to put him in position where he is good, where he is great. When he's playing with the Jets, he was a wrecking ball with the running backs, tight ends. He was just all over the field.
He did cover
in the box.
Though,
he
Jets
did.
Too.
Absolutely. But his strength, to your point, he gets less effective the further you have him out.
Further, yeah.
But when he's close to the line of scrimmage, he's making plays. There was a play where Henderson broke loose. Cooper Kupp had a good block on him. He got hit there.
He got blocked.
But you know what? The Seahawks blitzed him again, and you know what he did? He blew up Cooper Kupp, and he got a tackle for loss. Yeah. That's what you want to see from him, and that's all I got.
I just think that Jamal's so much under the microscope with the fan base right now. Every good play he does gets ignored, and all the bad, unless it's a sack, and all the bad plays he has gets highlighted. And there are far more good ones than bad ones this year. And I don't even think it's particularly close. Like, how many people would think about that TFL he got, and instead thinking about the block on Kupp?
No,
well, I have to mention both.
Yeah,
that's how it works. That's how
he got blocked in one, and then he came back, blew up Cooper Kupp for the tackle for loss.
And then they ended up punting, right? Or picking a field.
I think it was a field goal.
Yeah.
But either way, he did what he was supposed to.
He did his part. So I do think the only thing that I think is the legit gripe on the Jamal stuff, to put a bow on that, is if you want to know why he's not doing more of the thing he's best at. That's fair. To suggest he can't cover, disagree. To suggest he's not being used correctly in terms of like he's not doing anything, I would push back on that. My thing is, get further away from the line of scrimmage, not as effective. Still can be effective, as we saw in the Kittle play last week. But I'm in the camp of have him do more of what he's best at, particularly because your pass rush is not getting there. That's kind of where I'm at. That was a lot, but we're still going to get a lot of Jamal tweets, and that's fine. We can have the discourse, but just come at me with an actual gripe. He can't cover. That's lazy.
Our next one's from the homie Ryan Turner. What's up, fellas?
What up, Ryan?
Take a look at the schedule. What will the Hawks' record be, and will they still make the playoffs? Keep killing it. So I have the schedule for you right here.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I think 10-7 seems doable, right? That seems about right. That'd be going 8-4 the rest of the way. I do think they got some gimmies, even with the defense playing this way. Assume this is tricky. I don't know if Russ will play, but let's assume Russ plays against Pittsburgh and beyond. Should beat Pittsburgh, should beat Jacksonville. Who's after that?
Green Bay.
No. The Saints are in there somewhere.
Oh, so it's Pittsburgh, Saints, Jacksonville.
Yeah, should be 5-3. Should be, doesn't mean guaranteed, but should be. So that's 5. Yeah, that's 3 straight wins. Probably lose to the Packers.
Then there's Arizona at home.
Probably lose to Arizona. So you're back with 5-5, 500 through 10 games, which is not the worst thing, but not great.
Then you're on the road against Washington.
You should beat Washington, Detroit, and Houston.
And you got San Fran after Washington.
So what did I get? That's 8 wins. I'm missing another bad team. Chicago.
Yep, and then you close it out with at Arizona after Detroit.
And you should win some more division games. So you can probably get to 10 wins there. Which is, I don't know if that makes the playoffs though. 10-7. But I could see that. We'll get there. Problem is, do something now. But yeah, 10. Yeah, Ryan, 10-7 would probably be my guess.
All right. Our next one comes from Matt. I'll ask. Let's see. He has a couple of them, but what can we do to fix this defensive situation?
I think we got to a lot of that. I think something has to change. Very similar, like how we said, just putting Sidney Jones in over Trey Flowers make the team better. Maybe not. It makes them different, and they have to do something different. You have to do something. You can't put the same 20 guys out there and say, all right, guys, do your job.
This one's from Christian all the way in Germany. Who is the Seahawks' backup kicker? If Myers and Dixon would be hurt, who comes in?
Oh, this is a great question, Christian. Let me tell you, they don't have one. They don't have one. So they would just have to never kick.
Oh, God.
Pete Carroll, oh, man. Punting on 4th and 3, going forward on 4th and 2. That just suggests my man's all over the place. He said the situations were different. I disagree. I asked him why they were different. He wouldn't tell me, which is whatever. My guess would be that he has different go for it numbers when on 4th and 3 versus 4th and 2. That would be my guess, which that's fine. You should go for it in both situations from those yard lines that it was. I think it was 4th and 3 from the 43. Go for that. And I think it was 4th and 2 from the 29. I think go for both of them. Anyway, that was bad. They should go never kick though. If Michael Dixon got hurt. Michael Dixon, by the way, play of the night.
I had never seen nothing like that. I was
definitely
insane.
shouldn't have counted. I don't think.
Yeah, they brought on the ref analyst.
What's it? Was it Sterator who?
I think. He was like, they got it wrong. We'll have to talk about that.
Did he really?
Yeah. Well, he didn't throw him under the bus, but he was like, we're gonna have to talk about that because in the rule book it states A, B, and C.
You can kick it twice, right? You just have to be behind the line of scrimmage.
And Dixon was not behind the line of scrimmage, so he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that one out." But it's never happened, so first time for everything, right, guys?
Shout out to Michael Dixon, man. That was great. Jason Myers got to make them kicks though.
Yeah, he do.
He got to make them kicks.
This one's from Nicholas. Is Russ gone or is Pete gone if the Seahawks do not make the playoffs? What's next?
This is tricky. Probably Russ he seems more likely to want to leave. Pete would probably want to stay around and try to fix it, which makes sense. That's kind of his mentality. He's optimistic in that way. Russ knows he's got a finite amount of lifespan to be excellent. Pete's 70. You can coach till you die. You
90 years old out there.
You can't play quarterback until you die, right? You have to find the right circumstances. There's only a certain amount of time you can have to win a championship. I think Russ realizes that, and he's the one who more likely to want to leave. Would he? I would guess so if they don't make the playoffs. I mean, why would he? I think it was Colin Cowherd who made the point. He was like, what do the Seahawks do well other than have Russ? Now, I guess the answer now is have Geno. But, I mean, realistically, not a ton else. Got a defensive-minded coach, a lot of money and resources spent on defense. You got bad defense. if I'm Russ, like, what I got?
Why am I here?
For who? For what? Why keep doing that? So I think if I had to choose which one would want to go, probably be Russ. I don't know how to go through the logistics of what that would look like quite yet, and we don't have time to. We don't have to right now. We will eventually if it keeps going like this. Right. But to choose between those two, was that Nicholas?
Yes. Yep.
I would say Russ of those two.
Professor Rod wants to know, given the Seahawks play, can y'all play Evelyn Champagne King's Love Come Down for the pod intro outro music this week?
He wants the original.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We got to go with my guy Kofi, man. We got to.
Plus, we might get hit with a copyright.
We don't have the rights to her estate. Is she alive? Probably not. Her estate might come for us. Oh, damn.
Google that, man.
I just killed her. Read the next thing while I Google that.
My man said I just killed her. I think she's alive.
Is she really?
I think so. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Go ahead.
All right. Our next one comes from Dave Sayers with #Sleeps Matters.
Oh, damn. She's alive.
Yeah. We're sorry, Evelyn.
She's 60. Oh, she's not even that old. She's 61.
With #Sleep Matters, what's the cure for the overseas viewers, listeners for the next 2 primetime games if Russ is indeed out?
Oh, man. Oh, that's right. They are on primetime the next 2 weeks.
He also adds top work on the podcast as always, and everyone subscribe to the YouTube channel. Appreciate that, Dave. It ain't that hard. You're right.
Man.
Well, that game for the Sunday might get flexed out, like you said.
No, it can't get flexed. It cannot get flexed out. It's too late.
Oh.
The deadline was Wednesday to flex it out.
Oh, all right.
So, I mean, honestly, the Seahawks on primetime, they don't produce bad games. That was thrilling.
Yeah.
If you're just an objective viewer, which is what you're banking on. Like, honestly, some of their most boring games from a national TV standpoint have been the blowout wins. Like, I was just talking to the homie in London, shout out to homie Adam. I was like, the Super Bowl was trash. The first one. What you want to watch that for if you don't root for Seattle?
43-8.
Yeah, 43-8.
Terrible.
Even if you root for the Broncos, you're turning that shit off. So, like, that's bad for primetime. Didn't they have a primetime game where they won by like 50?
Yeah, they beat the Cardinals like 52-3 or something.
Yeah,
something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald was heartbroken.
That is trash. They played a 6-6 tie on Sunday Night Football.
Wasn't that against the Cardinals too?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, my. In Arizona, that's right.
Yeah, trash.
Terrible game.
So, like, these games have actually been entertaining. So the Seahawks should be on primetime more often. The only times it really stinks is when they get blown out. And they don't really get blown out on primetime. The only time I can remember them getting blown out on primetime is the Rams in 2019 in December down in LA. They lost 28-12 and didn't score an offensive touchdown. Quandre's pick 6 was the only touchdown of the day. Hey, Quandre, by the way. Definitely got to pay Quandre.
I lied. We have one more.
Hold on. I want to.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're the overseas people though, I think it's time to just get some sleep and watch it in the morning though, because the stress levels got to be. I'm not staying. Imagine staying until you stay up till 5 a.m. and you are wherever you watching the game in Germany or Spain,
Can't
or
relate.
UK. It's 5 a.m.
You haven't slept.
And you hear the announcer say, "And Geno Smith's coming in the game to replace Russell Wilson." Like, even though Geno played well, that would I'd be like, I'm going to bed. I don't know. I'm going to bed. I'll wake up and say, if we won, we won. I'm about to go to bed. So my overseas people, man, I commend all you guys who stay up in the middle of the night to watch that stuff, man.
That's love.
That is really love. Like, not just for the pod, that you guys are that dedicated. I ain't dedicated to nothing that much to be watching at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever.
Our last one comes from Savage at Russell Wilson _Savage. I had to throw that in there because I like it.
Is it Russell? It says RW. Is that Russell Wilson?
I would assume.
All right. Okay.
I could be wrong. It's a terrible guess.
Okay.
Do you either A, trust Pete and John to find a new QB, or B, trust ownership to find a new coach and GM with Wilson at quarterback?
Oh man, I'm about to end the show with something spicy.
Hot takes.
Not a hot take, but it is something I was joking with somebody about. How do I want to word this? I was joking that, like, you could, in theory, who's a team with 2 first-round picks this year? Did the Giants have 2? Did the Giants trade a first-round? No, did the Giants get the Bears' first-round pick to move up to for Fields? I want to say that is what happened. That the Giants have 2 2022 first-round picks. Let's say they have Daniel Jones, so this is kind of a moot point. But I'm just saying, like, if there is a team with 2 of them, does Detroit have 2? Yes, Detroit has 2 because they have the Rams pick. Maybe you get a team like the Giants or Detroit. I don't know, just a team with 2 first-round picks this year in 2022, and you tell them, "We'll give you Russ," and you give us. They're not gonna do this, but this is like a scenario. This is like I'll give you 2 scenarios because he asked about trust Pete and John, or basically asking, give me a Pete and John stay scenario or a Russ stay scenario. That's essentially what this question is, which is I've thought about before the game, actually. So, like, you find a team with 2 first-round picks. I think that the Dolphins might have 2 as well. I'm pretty sure they do. Who did the Niners trade to move up to get Trey Lance? Who was in the number 3 spot? I think it was the Dolphins.
I don't recall.
I can't remember. Anyway, find that team. You could, in theory, say, hey, we'll give you Russ, give us the 2 firsts right now, and then give us your 2023. So you're getting 3 firsts, but over the course of 2 years, which speeds up your rebuild. You move a receiver as well, because you can't just move Russ and then not do nothing else. That's stupid. So, like, you would then trade like DK or something and get a 1. And then that would probably go to like a team that's like the Ravens, who finish get like pick 25 from them. And that would be in this year's draft as well. So you would enter like the 2022 draft. You have no quarterback, but you have 3 firsts. So that gives you a chance. And then you actually keep the rest of the defensive players in this scenario. At least the ones that are good. Like you still keep Bobby. You still keep You pay Quandre, I think, in that scenario because you got money. You keep Jamal. I think those are good players to build around. But that way you need to address your pass rush. You address a cornerback. You address a quarterback. Then you still have a first the next year. You have 2 firsts the next year in 2023, and you have more money. You still have a number 1 receiver in Tyler, and you can draft at that position as well. And then you probably should draft a tackle. No, because you got Stone already. So maybe you draft another one, but not high because you've already made the investment. I do think there's a world where that happens. That would actually no, I don't. Sorry, might have to cut that out.
Pump the brakes.
I don't think there's a world where that happens, but that would be like the Pete and John stay over Russ scenario, is to just do that, get a ton of resources. And honestly, that rebuild would not take super long. It might just be like a year of, I don't know, Cam Newton or something, or Teddy Bridgewater, or a year of a stopgap Jameis. I don't know why I'm just naming black guys. It's got to be a white guy that fits too. But it's a year of one of them dudes, Dalton. I don't know. But then you build around everything else. You still draft a quarterback, actually, not a year of one of those guys. You bring in the rookie. And then you have cap space and some resources, and you can kind of try to build again. because then you'd have to extend DK too if you kept him too. So I think that's a possibility. If you were to like, all right, the Russ thing's done, let's trust John and Pete. Would I do that? Absolutely not. I would do none of that. But be very clear, I would do none of that. But that's probably what the best case looks like in a scenario where you lose Russ and keep Pete and John. Now, if you lose Pete, because that's the one I think you would need to lose, not John. That's actually not that difficult. I think you have Russell Wilson. You have like one of the most attractive jobs in the NFL now. It's more attractive than that. Than what happens when Matt Nagy gets fired in Chicago. It's more attractive than taking over for Urban Meyer, who might not be here by Halloween. And the other job that's going to be open those are the two that most likely, for sure open by the end of the year. This is better because you have Russ and DK and Tyler. So I would say that if you just hire whoever's the best candidate. You hire Bieniemy, he would definitely take this job. For sure, he would take this one. And who else is out there? I don't know who the other candidates out there are, but that will be one. So you just hire the new hotshot coach, an offensive-minded guy. Please make sure it's an offensive-minded guy. Don't go through this again. And then you just kind of build with what you got. I think that's a much easier scenario. I mean, it's harder to just because then you need all new assistants and everything if you get rid of Pete and stuff like that. But I feel like you can find position coaches and assistant coaches and coordinators and stuff. It's hard. It's really hard to redo a culture. But, I mean, you can't have a losing culture. You just keep everybody, right? Like,
that's not what you want.
No, you're definitely going to lose Russ if you have a losing culture. He named his son Win. The last thing that dude is going to stay around and do
is lose.
Broken finger or not is lose. So you can't do that. So that was kind of spicy. That was like the first time I've ever talked about a scenario of how you build without Russ. But think about that. That's a lot of assets I just get. I gave you 3 first-round picks, and those are all legit too. If you traded DK right now, you would get a 1.
Yeah.
And if you traded Russ, you would get 3 ones. 2 of them in this first draft. So again, I wouldn't do any of that. That's like chaos. But if you're asking me about scenario where you keep Pete, scenario where you keep Russ, that is what they look like. It looks like get a lot of assets for us or hire Eric Bieniemy. Well, that's really what you got. Seriously, that's it.
What an episode of Seahawks Man to Man. We are sorry.
That was the last one.
That was it, man. That was it. We appreciate all the Twitter questions, all the love.
Woo!
It was a lot.
Oh, that wasn't as doom and gloom as I thought.
Well, it's straight to the facts. We're gonna be real and honest with you guys. 2-3. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers. They got to win that game. No ifs and ands and buts. You don't want to be 2-4 at all. You're 2-3. So I think they should bounce back. They will bounce back 3-3.
For what it's worth, I don't think a coaching change will be made. Like I don't think like Ken gets fired or something like that. I think Pete's gonna ride with this guy, but I don't think anything should be ruled out in terms of personnel or staffers on either side of the ball, but particularly on defense. A lot of resources being pulled there to not be good for half a year last year and
the first month of this year. And change.
Yeah, and about 30% of. No, it's not 30%.
Don't ask me no math.
I try to do way too much math just there to
17
close out the show.
The
Point is,
games.
they can't be this bad, and everybody keep their job. That's just not how the league works. That's just somebody got to go. I mean, somebody got to get brought in because this is not it. Who specifically? Let me make some calls and figure out what's going on. But for now, I just know I'm the doctor. Come in with your arm hanging out, like, hey, it's broke. Like, can I fix your arm? Maybe.
No?
I'm not a surgeon. I can tell you your arm broke though. We can call the surgeon and be like,
let me give you some guys.
He can fix your arm. That's where I'm at right now. Oh, you give me the Seahawks team, all 22? Oh yeah, this is bad. I can tell you that. Here's a suggestion. I can't full on fix it quite yet. I got to do some MRIs and stuff on the defense, but I can diagnose. It's bad. Something got to change. Multiple people out here. So.
Well,
this is not good.
We'll be looking forward to see what they do.
This is going to be this break is needed. There's going to need to be some soul searching on this break that they have because they probably don't practice again until Wednesday.
I'm going to search on the film. Do a lot of soul
searching. Oh yeah. I'm going to watch a lot of film. I'm going to talk to a lot of film people. I'm going to make some calls inside the building. I'm going to do my part. This was just our first reaction. We coming back strong.
Catch you guys later. We out.